Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast. I got a very cool show with Corey from My Life in Gaming as the co-host. He's great as always. I love both of those guys, and I'm very happy that I was able to get Corey on as well. A lot of cool stuff to talk about, but first I just wanted to say a very quick thank you to everybody and for everybody's support. Lots of great messages coming in, and I was able to sell a lot of stuff too. Even some of the people that already bought stuff swung by the office and picked up some more, so thank you guys for the support. No jacked up prices. Everything is, what I paid for it. So sometimes it's an okay deal, sometimes it's a great deal, but no one's getting ripped off. So please check the link down below again. I'm going to continue to list stuff till it's all gone, probably another week or two for all the stuff I was trying to clear out. It takes a long time to pack and list these things. So please keep checking and see if there's anything that you guys might like. I know there was actually an issue with some of the shipping costs, where a few people had emailed, mostly with the music stuff, where they said the shipping calculator said shipping was going to be like $100 for. So I fixed all that, don't worry. So, but thank you guys very much. Definitely check out the links. And to all my Patreons, I know this is airing on November 1st, but I do the drawings based on what comes through on the 1st of every month. So next week will be the Patreon giveaway. And I have an amazing giveaway donated by Game Tech coming up. I'm always careful with how I do these things because I don't want people to feel like I'm trying to bribe them to become Patreons. But it's already too late. This is episodes airing in November, so all of my October Patreons are going to have a chance to win something absolutely freaking killer. So thank you guys for everybody's support, just can't thank you guys enough, and hopefully I will be able to reward one of the amazing October Patreons with an amazing donation from Jason from Game Tech. So very excited. I was tempted to try to find some way to do the drawing right away for this, but next week. So yeah, there's my cheesy teaser. You'll find out in next week's episode. What's up, Corey? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Good. Thank you for doing this. I've been wanting to have you on for a while, but our schedules seem to be crossing paths not as often as I'd like, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, it's we've been talking about it for a while, but with kids, my kids make it so much more difficult to schedule it.
Yeah, my apartment situation makes it hard for me too. But we're finally here. We're doing this, and there's actually a lot of really cool shit to talk about this week.
Nice. I can't wait to hear what you've brought to the table today.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into it. All right, let's start with an easy one and some good news. The G-Start Switch Lite is up for sale right now, and anybody could just go get one, and it should ship relatively soon. So, I don't know. I love mine. Do you still have one?
Oh yeah, I have two. I have a Lite and a regular one.
Me too. I actually just uploaded a page on the site that shows you how to make the low-pass filter switch on the original. And while, I will never, ever sell my original, the light actually is signal is a little bit cleaner through it.
Really?
Yeah, now, I'm splitting hairs. I'm talking about pumping it 5x through the OSSC, zooming all the way in Photoshop to look at the different, but it's neat. Like, I have a very specific use for both. One of them with the toggleable switch, the VGA output, and both are... I'll never sell either. They're both the major tools in my arsenal. So
yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't remember what life was like without them.
Yeah, I still have those otaku switches too. I still have yours, and I still have the one I bought that I just maybe at the very least I'll slap together some comparison pics just so people could see the differences. I really wanted to put them on an oscilloscope, but I don't own one, and I'm not going to buy one for at least 6 months. So. Yep. Well, anybody that wants it, I believe they're shipping relatively soon. So just no wait, no order. Just pick them up and go. All right. Next up is a huge one. This one is it hits me right here because I love the Super Nintendo. Voultar stumbled across what we think is a fix for the ghosting on the one-chip Super Nintendos.
Oh man.
So yeah, that's something that I've been struggling with for a while. And what the testing that he did actually proved out something that it proved the why, not the what. So after my years of testing, Voultar and I did that 3 or 4 hour live stream, which I still never had time to chop it up into a nice, easy video. But what we determined is that all one-chip revisions are the same. And if you do the bypass, the mini and the one-chip is the same. But, it's roll of the dice on the quality that you get from each. So you could buy 100 one-chip 01, 100 one-chip 02, and 100 one-chip 03, and then do all the right mods, and they'll average out to be identical. So it was very common for somebody to say, oh, the 03 is the best, the 01 is the best, whatever. It's just, you get lucky. And I always said it was my gut feeling that the tolerances between them, while there is wear and maybe some caps go bad or something, it had to do with the components used, because there was a very wide tolerance for each component. So, like, for example, in the thing that I'm about to talk about, one of the capacitors, all of the capacitors on there have a 20% tolerance. So that means if it's supposed to be 100 microfarad, it could vary between 80 and 120. And that's just stock from the factory. And of course, that's with all electronics, because, unless you're insane like us, you can't tell the difference between the stuff anyway. But these things would account for the wide swing in quality between the different revisions. And on top of that, that would also explain why some have no ghosting at all and some have really bad ghosting even after a bypass. Right. So I ordered the stuff to test myself. Not that I doubt anybody, but I'm a nerd. You have to have 3 or 4 people test it before it's official. It's just the way we roll. But it's really, really exciting. So to quote what Voultar said, he wanted to make sure that it wasn't something in the chip, because maybe the chips themselves have a wide tolerance or accuracy tolerance. So he actually swapped the ASICs between a system that had the ghosting and a system that didn't. The chips with all the little pins on them, the one that I can really easily break. Right. He swapped those, and the problem stayed on the board. It didn't follow the chip.
So that helps them narrow it down a lot.
Yep.
Right.
So then he started poking around and probing components that are close in proximity to it. And he found a capacitor, and he probed it with his meter, and it was supposed to read one thing. And he thought, well, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it should be a little bit different. So he swapped it out with one that has a 5% tolerance capacitor, and the ghosting went right away. Now, caps are different than resistors. You can get 1% tolerance resistors for very cheap, pennies. But the difference between 5% and 1% for capacitors is like dollars. So 5%'s fine. And he was also looking at a different resistor that may or may not make a difference. So I'm going to verify his testing hopefully this week and have something on that next week. Maybe I'll do a video with him or something. But it's really exciting for huge fans of the Super Nintendo,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the only other thing that I don't think, which I will test, is if doing this capacitor fix, which did show that it fixed the ghosting. If you do that, you do the brightness attenuating resistors. If doing both of those will make a stock one-chip Super Nintendo look just as good as a mini with just the RGB lines hooked up. I don't think so, because we tested that pretty hardcore in that 4-hour testing we did. But I mean, if this all works, it might theoretically be possible that if you changed every single capacitor on that board with a 5% tolerance and every single resistor with a 1%, maybe it would be better. But I mean, what's the point? You could just slap in the 7374 board for $30 right, and have it perfect. So, but yeah, which am I allowed to talk about an upcoming episode of My Life in Gaming?
Sure. Yeah.
So what testing have you done for the SNES version episode that's coming? Between now and never, I guess.
Between now and never, not a whole lot.
Don't want to put a time constraint on you.
I know. Well, I know that you, the system that I'm borrowing from you, is the one that has the previous amp in it before the 7374.
Does it have that, or does it have the sRGB expansion board in it?
I don't know. I have not opened it. So
because the expansion board is essentially the same as just taking the RGB lines and adding some resistors. It's just all in one very nice and easy to install package, which would completely remove those wads of wires and glue and crap you see from eBay systems. Even a beginner could do this fairly easily. Honestly, the only debate that I won't pick sides on is for the minis, is it better to get a 7374 or an just use the bypass board and use its own encoder? And I have one about each. I keep going back and forth because I really don't. There's advantages to each. Cost is, it's $10 cheaper or something. But
right.
I don't know. But have you seen any consistency issues? Have you seen any one that looks better to your eyes based on the ones that you've gotten?
I mean, I have a unit with a Voultar 7374 in it, and I mean, it's like my main system, pretty much at this point. I've been using it fairly consistently since. I mean, the only thing I don't like about the mini is it just doesn't feel like is like solid. It's just. I don't think it looks as good on camera either. I mean, a lot of people will say, the US version of the Super NES, it's ugly, but I kind of got a soft spot for it.
Yeah, when I play these games, at this point, 99%, if not more, is just about the experience of playing the game. So you got to have the original controller. You can't have weird crap on the screen. It's got to be nice and clear. But that's really all I care about anymore. What got me into RetroRGB is a little bit of the nostalgia. But if I had a choice between having the same exact experience, but I get to have the original Super Nintendo sitting in the middle of a room, I would rather look at the big old Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
that little tiny bit of me just that is the nostalgia that kind of feels awesome. So.
Yeah, so I don't have a better answer for you, but once I kind of. For those that have followed our channel, you'll notice that our releases have been a bit more spread out than we would have liked recently, and that's just because we've had freelance things going on, and it's just been hard to keep up lately. But I think that things are going to get better really soon.
Yeah, well, also you guys committed to making good videos. I committed to making a video every Wednesday, so my shit could look like this. It'd completely serve its purpose. It's better when you guys spend the time, make things the way you guys always make them. So take your time. That's why I said between now and never. Whenever that video comes out, we'll all watch it, but no rush. So.
All right.
Well, stay tuned for both of our upcoming SNES videos. Mine probably going to be sooner just because I'm going to get excited and throw it up with a quick blue screen background.
I wonder if I'll check
okay, up next, Clickbait eBay scandal. No, not really. I've been having fun yelling that lately, and I don't know why. People get annoyed, but it makes me giggle. So, there are composite to HDMI boxes on eBay now.
I see. Yeah.
And I have no problem with that. They serve a very good purpose. You can get them fairly cheap, and I wouldn't knock anybody for using those. They certainly have a time and a place. It's not for perfectionists, but crazy perfectionists like me would totally use them for certain things. That's not what these are. Somebody has taken the time to put individual stickers on each. They're $100. And I love some of these, Sega Saturn HDMI cable box, WoW and Rare. Play your games in HDMI. eBay exclusive. Don't miss out.
Yeah, limited offer.
Yep. Sega Dreamcast HDMI box, cable only. I don't know what that means. Limited offer. There's a couple of... Hold on. All right. Sega Dreamcast HDMI box, cable only. Really makes the picture wow. Big upgrade. Don't miss out version 2. That's probably the second version of the sticker they printed to put on it. Where's... Oh, man.
Almost $100, though. That's insane.
Yeah. Don't miss out. Big upgrade rare. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand anybody's thinking. WoW and Rare still definitely makes me smile the most.
I'm so sad that we don't see the the look with the two ats in between, to make it look like eyes. I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore. Yeah. But look, if you look, I can't believe that, this, the Nintendo HDMI box cable 3-in-1 for the N64, they've sold 15 of them.
Yeah.
At almost $100.
Yeah.
And
they don't, what they do, which is a little, I don't see where it plugs into the box, but what I'm thinking they do is take an official Nintendo composite cable, because you could see the plug says Nintendo on it. cut the ends off, and solder it directly in to a board, and then put that board into a case, and then go from there. So to make it look like an official Nintendo product. But this is most definitely just composite video. It would be impossible for this to be RGB. So yeah, that's absolutely crazy to me. It's after shipping, it's $120 pretty much for just a composite scaler.
That's way too expensive just to get one to see what it's all about.
No, I was gonna buy one. The HD Retrovision guys were making fun of me because they said I can't sit here and criticize without ever actually using one, and I respectfully tell them to fuck right off because I could see from the picture.
You're like, actually, I can.
Yeah, it's composite video, and that means that that it's going to be identical to just plugging it directly into your TV. So if you guys see that. Make sure to just skip right past it and don't waste your money. And but maybe just take a look and check out some of the names they have because I really, I just can't get over. What was the best one? I just had it right in front. Really makes the picture wow.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna have to fit that in someplace.
Yeah, so knowing my luck, he watches the podcast, and I'm going to get another hate mail like I usually do when people stumble across me criticizing them for ripping people off. So, hey, we'll see next week if that happens. Next up, RAFnet just posted a redesigned version of their SNES to USB adapter, and it leverages ADV-Zarch? AdZarch? I don't know how to say that. But basically, the latency could be as low as 2 milliseconds. So that's really awesome. I love how RAFnet always just goes above and beyond to get the lowest latency possible.
Mm-hmm. It looks like the form factor is very similar to the N64 to GameCube. It looks like the where you have like the whatever chip he puts inside the little in the dongle there.
Yeah, definitely. I've yet to try out his newer stuff. I really want to give it a shot. I have a couple of his Genesis adapters, but if anybody has them, definitely let me know. And I haven't tried the latest. I actually haven't updated my Bliss box in at least a year, probably more. And there's been a bunch of firmwares for that, so I'm wondering how that's going to do. I didn't notice any lag at all on the Bliss box, and I'm usually pretty sensitive, but I was playing on a CRT. It's way easier to notice half a frame when you're playing on a flat screen that already has 2 frames, you know? So,
right.
But, yeah. Do you have any of those adapters?
We did a video on one like about a year and a half ago.
I like that video. I gotta remember to put a link in the description now.
but Tri has the one that's, the N64 to GameCube or GameCube to N64 that's very similar to this. The one I have is it was a Wiimote or Wii remote to Genesis.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like he's been continuously releasing new stuff though and updates for a lot of these things. I mean, unfortunately, just kind of falling behind on it.
Yeah.
I'm following him.
Well, if anybody uses his stuff, let me know and see. But I've always been very impressed with it. So
yeah. What do we got next?
I saw Engadget posted an article with an interview with a speedrunner, and it's one of the few articles I read about the gaming scene that doesn't make me want to cringe, because a lot of these places, it just, when I had Frank Cifaldi on, he was very defensive of other journalists, obviously. I don't hold I don't hold him in ill regard for doing so, but I am definitely more of like a grumpy old man, get off my lawn type of persona with this crap, and I just... I don't like people that write, of any genre, that write articles just to try to get people to read the article, I'd rather have something well written, and this definitely felt more along those lines. I actually know a speedrunner. I want to do an interview with him soon. Cool guy, easy to talk to, so... but this stuff, I have a hard time watching speedruns start to finish unless they're kind of short. I did see somebody beat Metroid in 15 minutes. That was pretty incredible, but... There is a YouTube channel where they do mini documentaries about each. Have you ever seen any of those? They're 15-minute videos. And the last one I watched was talking about the guy who currently runs or has the Super Metroid record, and then somebody did a Zelda one.
I think I actually skimmed through this one about Mario 64. fairly recently. I mean, there was one about Mario 64 that I saw linked someplace.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's based on the same person in this article because I've not read the article.
Yeah, I gotta find the link to that YouTube channel because it was very cool because they basically do like a little mini documentary on the all around that speedrunning of that game and show the tricks. It was really interesting. And it also
Just kind of break it down.
Yeah, and I could never do that. It was a very stark reminder that there's no freaking way I could ever be a speedrunner. So
you gotta really like a game. You know, like I hear about people like, especially for games that, you know, there's a lot of speedrunners for certain games, and just, you know, to commit to that. And, you know, like I think I just saw somebody said, you know, like I'm just starting to speedrun Yoshi's Island. And I think about like there's a lot of speedrunners for Yoshi's Island, it seems like.
yeah,
I mean, at least the ones I saw like at the What's that?
I still haven't even completed that game.
So, you know, actually I've never finished the Super Nintendo version. I played the Game Boy Advance version when I lived in New York. A lot of subway time. You know, I played a lot of portable games and played through Yoshi's Island that way.
Yeah, everybody says that. My cousin Scott does that, but every time I'm on a subway now, I'm just jammed in a corner, trying to feel less fat than I am, trying to get my elbow onto some lady's face. Like I couldn't imagine sitting there. It's Scott. Scott gives zero fucks about anything. He would walk into the subway with a Switch and just hold it, just playing it, not giving a shit. But I don't know. Scott's also like half, you know, he's taller than me, but he's half my size, so he could just stand there and not take up as much space. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, but yeah, it's a decent article if anybody's interested. So Firebrand X is at it again. Now he did updated PS2 profiles for the Framemeister. You guys took a look at that, right?
Yeah. We've kind of had a big back and forth for a little while on it. I originally noticed that the previous versions were very dark when I was doing a episode on the Sega Ages 2500 games for the PS2. Like mostly are Japanese only. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, wow, it's so dark. And I had to like manually brighten it afterwards. So I was like, I showed Try them. And he's like, yeah. Cause especially now that he's getting into he's well into the PS2 RGB episode. Like we've been really trying to find something that we can both use that looks good. And just a couple of days ago, he finally released the like an updated version, and Try sent me a screenshot comparison of Resident Evil Code Veronica X, and the color from his profiles versus the PS4 Classics versions is like exact. Like it looks amazing.
That's awesome. So are you able to, is it not just the brightness? Are you able to see different details or something, or?
Well, I mean, it was like the main thing for me was like definitely the brightness. Like games like Maximo were so dark that, you know, like I was sitting here playing on a PVM and then, you know, looking at my captures, like I can't see anything in the capture. It's like worthless, basically. But now everything's great now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm obviously a huge fan of his work. So if anybody watching owns a Framemeister, just update. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. So
yep.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'll keep everybody updated with all of his progress because he told me he got an OSSC now.
Oh,
I can't freaking wait to see him jump into that and see if there's any tweaks for us. So
yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of the OSSC, it looks like Video Game Perfection got a big batch of power supplies and remotes in. And anybody who orders now should still get theirs by the end of the year. So that's very cool. They're really working their butts off to make this happen. So anybody that wants one should definitely pick it up now.
I'm very jealous of everyone who has a 1.6. I still have my is it 1.5 that just has the DVI out. Yep. And I recently like kind of hooked it up where I can like, you know, listen to audio and it also capture audio. Mm-hmm. You know, just using my Extron, using splitters and stuff. I mean, we like both Try and I have like kind of fallen a bit more in love recently with the OSSC, just using it more and more. And I know that Try is building a new computer, and he is like going to be using the OSSC as like his main scaler from now on. Or
that's awesome. Yeah, I found that if you get the data path, the DVI capture cards frame grabbers, I think they're called. It's compatible with everything that the OSSC spits out. So
Right.
I think it's PC only, and you need a tower, not a laptop, which is why it took so long for me to get one. Jose was, he'd been teasing me about that for over a year now, I think, because he's like, you should just get a data path. I'm like, I don't have room for a tower in my apartment. And then I got the office. Now I have a tower again, and it's like, hey, what was that card you were telling me about? But yeah, they're awesome. They're cheap too, because they used to be like $750, and you can find them for under $200 now. So.
Well, the competition's a lot more intense at this point. I know that Tri is going to be putting a Magewell card in his new computer build because he's going to be able to want to capture like 4K directly in.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm totally going to go off topic for this one. I'll even leave a little mark that to split this video in half. But I got in the past year really into capturing to make sure I got things that were accurate. Because a lot of times, like, my specialty in my career has always been general stuff, middleman stuff. So when I was doing these captures, I'd spend all that time getting my DSLR, shooting a PVM, and I could easily tell the difference between screenshots. And then I do screen captures, and some things looked identical. I'm going, well, why the hell? I'll go back to this. This doesn't make any sense. And I didn't realize that a lot of this stuff was because the capture card was compressing the image. 420 color versus 444 original.
Right.
So getting a good capture card is imperative if you're doing any kind of comparisons, or if you're just crazy and anal and just want the best. But the Epiphan, I got one. It's probably going to be sold by the time I say this, but I just listed an Epiphan DVI to USB 3, and that is full color. It's awesome. But that has some issues with some stuff on the OSSC in different modes. It's not compatible with all consoles in all modes.
Right.
But it's USB 3, so it's easy to use. And it does, even though it's DVI, it does audio and video. So I use that for all my Switch captures, like everything. And the data path one it only come in the internal versions, and that's the one that's just compatible with absolutely everything, but audio isn't. So, yeah, I would definitely check out the used versions of those on eBay for anybody that's interested. 4K,
internal cards.
Internal cards are more bandwidth, but that Magewell, do you know which one Mark was getting? Because don't
he got
ones cost a lot.
It was like $900.
That's what I thought. Yep.
Yeah. He's been working pretty closely with John Linneman from Digital Foundry.
Oh, okay.
So, like, just kind of working out, like, because John has to capture, like, 4K, and he's, like, also capturing, like, stuff with HDR now, too. So, John plays a little part in our PS2 episode, RGB episode. This should be out probably, like, within 2 weeks of when this video is out. But, like, very much... we're big fans of Digital Foundry, and what they do is very similar to us, but like they have a lot more viewers and a lot more reach, but it's awesome to be able to work with them, especially since they John found out a lot of things about building like a 4K setup, 4K capture setup. So it's kind of streamlined, like the hoops that we've had to jump through, and without the trial and error.
Yeah, one thing I want to do at some point, which I might just verbally abuse you guys until you do it because you do a better job. But I want to see, now that it's way more common to get a 4K TV than a 1080p, and now that you can get a great 4K TV for like $750, which is a lot of money, but it's still, less than half of what a great 4K TV was 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
What about consoles that don't output in native 4K? So the Switch, do I run it in 720 or 1080 on my console? The PS3, even the Xbox One not S, which is the better resolution? Because I found on my Switch, no spoilers, but there's one scene in Zelda where there's a lot of stuff going on in a foresty-like area. And I did just pictures with my DSLR. In 1080p, you do get a lot more detail. But in 720p, there's a lot less stutter and a lot faster frame rate. So,
Really?
yeah, during that one scene, just running through, it's a little smoother in 720. So,
I think it's. I mean, Dry is definitely doing a 4K TV episode like next after this, after the PS2 RGB episode. Now, hopefully, be out like before Christmas for sure. So, I mean, that's something that he's probably gonna get into.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we got a little off topic for that one, but interesting stuff. So
yeah.
So that update to the Switch that happened about a week and a half ago, I guess that also added support for the GameCube controller adapter for the Wii U. Now, two things with that. One is I got a million comments saying that I missed it. I missed that fact about the update. I do record these on Mondays and Tuesdays, so if I think I read about this Monday morning, recorded it Monday afternoon, and then was away Tuesday, so I didn't have time to update it. So thank you for everybody reminding me that I missed that fact, but sometimes I just got to catch up with it the next week. But it looks like some games are supported, not all. Somebody put it in the comments that it wouldn't work on their Switch until they used it on their Wii U again first. So I don't know if that's even possible.
Like it's tricking something internally somehow.
Yeah, so I guess in theory it could be that when you run the latest version of Smash on the Wii U, it gets a system update that updates the firmware and the controller adapter.
Right.
But I mean, that just seems so easy to screw up. Imagine somebody pulling that out halfway before the firmware. So I'm not sure what the deal with that is, but do you have one of these?
I do not have one, but I mean, I would definitely get one if that meant that there was if Smash for the Wii U was getting ported to the Switch with all DLC, because I haven't bought any.
Yeah, it's always way better when they re-release it with all of the DLC combined.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was with Mario Kart 8. I didn't buy any of that DLC, and then there was a huge incentive to buy the Switch version.
Yeah, I still haven't tried the Switch version of that. I gotta get around to it. But I had one of those GameCube controller adapters. I bought it. I plugged it into my Wii U. I tried all of the Virtual Console games. None of them worked, so I put it back in the box and then just sold it.
Yeah.
So whoever bought it got it about 4 minutes worth of use on it. But yeah, I was. But now in hindsight, I'm wondering if there have been little updates to that thing that do make them compatible. So
maybe. I mean, nobody's like talking about it. So I mean, it's hard. You wonder who's even testing that.
Yeah. Well, if anybody knows, post down below. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Next, the creator of AM2R, Milton, was just interviewed again on maroonersrock.com. I'm probably saying that wrong, but another great interview. Such a likable guy. Have you ever heard any of his interviews or anything?
I haven't. I haven't even played the game.
Oh my god! Honest. Get out! Fuck you.
I know. I know. Seriously, like I've been
so good.
I know. It's so tough to find time for games that I'm not doing a video on.
I completely 100% understand where you're going with that, but I mean, do you have a way to play PC games in 240p?
No, I really want to get one of the arcade VGAs. Or is that?
I'm gonna mail you something. I gotta have pieces together in my office where I could piece you together and just plug.
Because I would love to do that. I mean, I could do it. I had it set up for a while where I could do it, in 40p, but I mean that was like
you got to do it in 240p. It really it feels like you're playing a graphically improved version of Super Metroid. It's absolutely killer. So.
I mean, that sounds great.
One trick that somebody had posted in the comments a while back was that you get laptops with the older ATI cards in them, and especially if you could find one with a broken screen, then you just hook that up, load Windows, add the CRT-EMU driver, force 240p, and then that's it. You just take the VGA output of that, put it through a little cheap Extron sync combiner device, and there's your 240p all in one little laptop box. So, actually, Whoever posted that sent me model numbers, and I think I lost them. So if you're watching, will you post model numbers again? And I'll actually put those on the 240p page on the website, so I will never forget again. I'd love to pick up one or two of those laptops and just have, because you can get them for like $60 now. So totally worth just picking one or two of them up.
Yeah. Have you used the Ultimark Arcade VGA?
I own one, and I like it very much. And yes, I could already hear the purists screaming at their YouTube videos while I say that, but a lot of people don't like them because they're expensive and they don't perform as well as the newer ones. But the one thing that they absolutely do is you plug it in, you load the drivers, you reboot, and it's 240p always. So you don't boot your monitor in the wrong resolution, and the installation is as basic as you could possibly get. So I own one, and I really like it for that reason. But if you're a bit more of a purist, you can get a newer ATI card that's pretty cheap. That's very powerful. That will play. You get noticeable performance difference on the newer games.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, all right. Well, hopefully we'll get some laptop model numbers, and I'll be able to just slap one of these together and mail it down to you.
Sounds good.
It looks like Xbox has joined the Wireless Speaker and Audio Association, so it could support premium wireless speakers. I have so many questions about this because for 2 jobs ago, that amazing job that I had, I actually got to do wireless interference testing, and there was not one device that I couldn't break one way or another. And some of it were control tests just to prove theory. Some of it was real world testing where I was told there's no way I could break it, and I broke the shit out of it in like 10 minutes. So anybody in an apartment, wireless speakers suck because there's so much interference in that range that you get pops and clicks and delays. But if you're in a house in the middle of nowhere, you get a lot better performance out of them. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to happen because wireless stuff isn't as popular as you would think. So now that you have a console that's, widely distributed,
Right.
I wonder how many complaints they're going to get. But the Xbox One itself, do you own one of those?
I do, yeah.
And do you own the regular Xbox One?
I got it, like the Christmas of at launch, a month and a half after it was out.
So there's the Xbox One, there's the Xbox One S that's already been out that has the Ultra HD Blu-ray player in it, right?
Right. Yep.
And then there's the new Project Scorpio that's available for pre-order right now.
I think it's going to be out like next week or something like that.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of people tell me that instead of spending, $150 on a used Ultra HD Blu-ray player, that I should actually get an Xbox One S that's used.
I mean, I think that sounds like a great idea. That's a great alternative. I try to keep like all my things separate if I can. I still have a Blu-ray player for just like Blu-rays. I'd rather not put like wear and tear in the consoles, even though it doesn't really do anything. But if I have a choice, I will always use like I'll use my smart TV for like Netflix and everything, and not use like the apps.
Yeah,
it's just a quirk in the way that I do it. I'd rather have like the separate units doing their job instead of like one thing that does like everything.
Normally I would agree with certain things, but with this, it's like to get. I'm going to go down a rat hole here, so I'll just say it in 1 or 2 sentences. To get all of your video media on a TV the correct way, you've always needed 2 devices. You needed a high-quality streamer and a high-quality Blu-ray player. Right now, there is a streamer out there, the Dune HD Solo Lite. That was a Fuda recommendation. Turned out to be fucking awesome. That's great for everything except playing discs. And I don't often play discs anymore. So this is the one exception I would say is, for something I would use once a month to play a disc, totally wouldn't mind. But I don't know, everybody down below, post. I would love to hear what everybody says. I do still read every comment, by the way, even some of the douchey ones. But like, what do you think about this? Is it for a video file? It's probably not worth waiting for the Project Scorpio because the Blu-ray playback, the Ultra HD Blu-ray player is going to be the same. But should I save my money and wait till I get my job situation squared away and buy the Project Scorpio to experience that in 4K? Is somebody just selling an Xbox One S because they got their Project Scorpio? They want to sell me cheap so I could just do it that way. Like, What is the best way to approach this for somebody whose main goal is to get an Ultra HD Blu-ray player? And oh, by the way, newer games would be nice too if I ever have time to play games anymore. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear everybody's opinion on that one. Next up, RGBSource has tweeted about a PC Engine dongle board that does 1080p HDMI, and it will have hue card support from SD later on. So there's zero other information about this. Price, release date, is he open sourcing it, is he selling it? He just kind of tweeted some teaser pics. But it looks like analog to digital conversion, so the same type of thing that you would do like for Renee's TurboGrafx board. But instead of going from the raw signals amplified to RGB, it gets converted to digital, I'm pretty sure. And then featured later is the hue card support would be just like an EverDrive, but built into this, which is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. It's a cool approach for it.
Yeah, I really wish you post more info because I love things like this. Is there going to be analog support as well, making it a dual output board? Is it, if that's the case, is it both analog and digital at the same time or one or the other? Has anybody tackled optical drive emulation support so that you can play CD games off of this as well? But hopefully he'll post more info, and I'll certainly report back about it.
The close-up screenshots look pretty great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any more ways that we could try to have zero lag solutions for things, because, the OSSC is great, but it does need to be tweaked per console. So,
yeah.
And speaking of RGBSource, he actually extracted the Retron HD1's color palette, and it's terrible. It's basically just proof that it's garbage. I wish there was a way to flash it with a better color palette, because while I say things like terrible and garbage, that's for people like us that own solutions already. For people that don't, that thing's so cheap. It's actually a kind of a fun little toy if you just want to play it in HDMI, but the colors kill me on that one. So. Oh well, if anybody's interested, check it out. Up next, elitist PS2 modder Voultar has posted yet another video mocking all of us normal humans who can't solder that well. All kidding aside, Voultar's technique has been stolen a lot over the years. He's proud of that. He doesn't think of it as being stolen, but when some of his first techniques started showing up online, they were great, so people were copying them, and this, I guess, is like a tutorial on how exactly to do it that way. And as much as I love teasing that dude, it's a great method of modding these things, so I'm glad that he finally chronicled his methods on how to do this, because there's so many little things in there where running the wires a certain way in a certain direction, it's not just to look pretty. It makes everything held very solid in place, and certain wires have to be run certain ways so you don't have interference or issues. And it's definitely watching that video reminds me that as hard as I try, I will always be like not a beginner, but I don't know what word you would call me, because I'm definitely better than a beginner, but I'm nowhere close to expert, nor will I ever be. So,
yeah, I have no idea how he, he just figured out how to do it so good, how to solder the stuff so good.
About his videos is he does skip sometimes over steps, assuming that people know how to do them. So, we were completely just making fun of each other a couple weeks ago because he's like, all right, now you just cut this down to size, and here you go. And then he skipped it, and he goes, wait, you want me to show you how to cut? Don't you know how to cut? I'm like, dude, the trick you showed me last year has changed the way that I run wires. Yes, show everybody how you cut, and then how you feed it the right way afterwards. And he's like, I don't understand that. Like, dude. So, yeah, anybody that's interested in that or just wants to watch some really cool modding techniques, check out that video.
I have a PS2 that he modded, and it works great.
Yeah, I have a couple that died last weekend when I was trying to get some ready. So I had a couple of old ones, and one worked fine. One the laser didn't work, so I was just trying to swap stuff around, and I had so much trouble. So I'm just gonna sit there this weekend, take them all apart again, and then very slowly just bring them all back to life, and then just out of the three, I'm assuming one's going to be a junk unit that I use for parts, and I'll have two good ones. But yeah,
It really makes it look like a work of art, though, the way he wires everything up.
yeah, I will not be attempting his methods. I'm just simply doing the C-Sync mod and maybe some of the soft mods to it. Much more basic stuff. The Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia Deluxe Edition is available for pre-order now. I guess it's coming out on April 24th of next year. And it says list price $80, but sale pre-order price $48, which probably means that's just the price. But it looks really cool. I mean, I like stuff like this.
Yeah, it has like a slipcase, like the Nintendo slipcase and everything. It's pretty...
Yeah, it looks just like if you look at the book from the front, for people that are listening audio only, it looks like the Zelda cartridge, and it slides into what looks like a giant Nintendo sleeve. And it comes with what looks like a little manual and everything, and then it's in gold. And I don't know, I always enjoyed stuff like this. Scott got me the Super Nintendo Zelda, the Link to the Past one, a couple of years ago. This is pretty neat, so anybody that's interested, definitely pre-order.
You're a pretty big Zelda fan?
A Link to the Past and Super Metroid are my favorite games of all time. So, yeah, I would definitely call myself a pretty big fan.
Yeah,
the 2D ones.
I mean, Link to the Past is definitely my favorite. And I think that it's pretty much as close to a perfect game as I can think of.
Yeah, agreed. I've seen a few other books like this out there. I was going to give that as a Patreon giveaway a couple months ago, where a couple of these really gorgeous, I guess you would call them like a coffee table book if we were 1,000 years old, but like just something that it really looks nice. And there's very few things I own that, I buy it because it looks nice, but that's the purpose of it. You leave it there, somebody grabs it, flips through it, it's artwork. But a couple of people were like, no, that's a cop-out Patreon giveaway. They're going to think you're just giving away old stuff. I'm like, no, but this is awesome. I would love if I won something like this. And they're like, no, give something better. So the Patreons didn't say that. One of my friends that was talking to me about it was like, don't give away your old junk. I'm like, it's not. I swear to God, it's a good idea. But oh well. It looks like Microsoft has officially discontinued the Kinect.
God, drag.
Today. I've heard that. I've heard people be like, oh, who gives a shit? But a lot of people don't understand the behind-the-scenes stuff with it, and I would have never if I didn't get to see it with my own two eyes. But the technology that they had developed for that was used for so many other things, and what they learned and built from that is definitely you're gonna be seeing that in their VR products and a lot of other things. The Kinect was absolutely an amazing device. It just, a lot of games didn't really take advantage of how cool it was, but, I mean, I was at a trade show and my Microsoft reps called me into a room, and they're like, hey, you gotta check out this thing that we just did. And they had, a real neurosurgeon, but, dressed for the part, and he walks up, and he's all, he's gloved up, so he's got this, it's obviously a demonstration, but it's as if he's about to go in for surgery, so he can't touch anything. And he walks up to his computer, and he holds his hand up, and then the menu comes up, and he could scroll through, and he was like pulling up MRIs and rotating them in 3. It was almost like Minority Report, but you have to be in front of the stupid little Kinect thing, and it was amazing. So while I won't miss that exact thing itself, I'm positive that we're going to see different iterations of that, most likely in their VR hardware. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I never really used the Kinect for anything. I never had a 360 Kinect. I just got one with my Xbox One, and it's in a Ziploc bag in the bottom of a bin. I mean, I just never used it for anything. I thought it was cool to, I guess I used it just for like basic system interface for like maybe a week or so. It was kind of cool being able to like, bring up certain things using the, like the microphone and everything, but I just never used it for anything. Although, I wish I would use it if they ported Child of Eden to the Xbox One, because that's one game that I thought was great, but I've only played it with a controller. It was kind of like made with a Kinect in mind. That was kind of like the pseudo sequel to Rez.
Yeah. So do you think that's the de facto Kinect game? If anybody wanted to experience what that was like,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably like probably the most fun game. I mean, there was a game called like the Stringer or something like that I heard was really good, but I've never played it.
Well, everybody post down below if you have a favorite Kinect game. Maybe I'll get around to trying that out one of these days. Looks like RetroBit is selling new multi-carts. Did you hear anything about this?
Yeah. We received an email from a RetroBit rep, and hopefully we'll get a chance to take a look at these in the future. I was originally like interested because like I wrote back to this email that they sent us, and I said, did they have to like cut any content or anything like that to get these to do this? They said no, everything is like works just as perfectly. So there's two different, like they're working directly with like Jalico and Data East.
Right, so these are officially licensed multi-carts.
Right.
So
which
they have,
like is it? I mean, I feel like having like the express permission and working with the original developers to do it, like like that sounds good on paper, but we'll have to see how they perform.
Yeah, I'm interested in the nerdy side of it, of course. Are they going to have hard gold or ENIG? Is it going to be the correct voltage? Are the cartridges themselves going to have beveled edges, or is it going to be just that gigantic rectangle like so many of other ones that I've seen? So I guess we'll see. I guess this is a pre-order, right? They're coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
And there's one for Nintendo and then 3 for Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, I mean the big ones like the Super Nintendo one, or like Super Nintendo ones are kind of the bigger ones. The Joe and Matt games on one cartridge. Then the Jalico Brawlers pack, which has like Rival Turf and Tough Enough. And what is it? There's one I can't think of what the game is. That's like Peacekeepers. I think is like a really expensive game.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, then that alone might be worth it for some people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a link in the description.
If they're not going to slowly kill your system.
There you go. Yeah, there's a link in the description with a list of each individual game as well, so check that out if anybody's interested.
All right.
Next up, 2 YouTube hacks got paid off to do a video on something nobody gives a shit about. Had to. Sorry. As awesome, always always good videos from you guys. The one thing that I didn't understand, that maybe it was just because it was that simple, was switching of the discs. I watched the video and I even rewound that one part. So when it says please insert disc 2, and then you pressed the button, did it automatically switch to disc 2, or did it bring up the menu and then you select disc 2?
It brings up the menu interface and it switches it. It's just like excuse me, just as when you pop open the top, it would take you to that interface anyways. So what the button does is it
I've never
loads.
played a 2-disc game on the Saturn, so I didn't even realize that's what happened.
Right. I mean, some games allow you to save, but I mean specifically D that I show brings you back to that menu, and it allows it to gives you time to like switch the discs. But what the button does is that it automatically loads the next image file on the card. So if you had like a disc 2 and you like named it something completely different, it wouldn't work. But if you just like call it like
Gotcha.
D disc 2, it'll load that.
So no matter what you name it, if you name it 1 2 3 4 5 space 1 1 2 3 4 5 space 2, then it'll automatically go to the next. And same if it's the name of the game -2. There's no specific thing you have to do, right?
Right. When it first was released, there was no menu interface, and you had to hit the button as many times as it took to get to the game, like the disc image on there. So you'd have to keep your own like paper list and say like, okay, so Astal is like the third game on there. So you got to turn on the system, press it 3 times to load that one. That was before they had the menu that you could build.
Interesting. Well,
but other than that, I mean, we were able to do it because this guy, Drew Littrell, who lives fairly close to me, donated a system, and I was like not familiar with ODEs in general until like he said, I have this extra system, because he had just gotten another Saturn unit.
Oh, okay, different Saturn.
Yeah, the why can't I think of it? Like there's the high Saturn with the other one.
Oh
I can't,
yeah, it's at the tip of my tongue too. I can't remember that
yeah,
one.
for some reason I cannot think of it. So he had gotten one of those, and he was putting one in there, and he was like, "I have this extra one. I mean, I know you guys are going to be working on a Saturn episode later on this year. I would love for you to take this." And I was like, "Okay,
Awesome.
yeah." Yeah, so huge thanks to him. You should check out his channel. It's called This Old Console, and old is spelled OLDE.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll put a link to that in the description as well for people that they'll want to check that out. And this stuff, regardless on what your stance on piracy is, like there are some people out there, Nick, who hates all kind of ROMs and stuff like that at all. No matter what you do, no matter how much you complain, CDs are going to die eventually. And your CD-ROM drives and the drive assemblies and lasers are going to die eventually. But the ROMs could live forever. So having optical drive emulators, I mean, I'm not a betting man, but I would absolutely bet one of my pristine monitors on the fact that Saturn itself would last 5-6 times as long as the optical drive assembly inside of it, if not more.
Right.
So, in fact, you'd probably have to replace the power supply less than you would the optical drive assembly. So these things are really necessary. I just I hope they're able to find a way to ramp up production to make them more available for people.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, Dude New, he does it as kind of a hobby. So, I mean, I know there's supposed to be. He posted on the site that there's going to be some available this Saturday. But everyone, there's so many people. I'm not even
going to bother to post a link to that because there's no chance in hell people are going to get them. So
yeah, I mean, it's it's frustrating because people want to buy it and then they can't buy it. But I mean, we've had a lot of comments saying like, oh, you just made it impossible for people to get it. But just because. So does that mean that we should just like never talk about it? Or, it's like, I think it's more of like an interesting thing to kind of show like, this is pretty cool. This exists.
Yeah. And there's no way that your video was going to make it any less available because the thing was impossible to get anyway.
Right.
But, I'm very interested, not to shit on those products because they're amazing, but I'm very interested in Professor Abrasive's Satiator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally just plug it in the back and that's it. So,
yeah.
And I mean, I really want to see that.
It's very important, I think, that I brought that up because as an alternative in the video, and there's a lot of people saying like, oh, I'm more interested in that. Like, why don't you talk more about it? But I was like, because the video wasn't about that. It was about, the
it's
feed
not
and the
available, and those have been released to the public in low quantities, but those have been released for a while, and Professor Abrasives isn't going to be for quite a while, I think.
Right. So. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens later on down the road. I mean, would rather, like, if Professor Abrasive's device works, like perfectly, like I will definitely just probably put them in my like Model 1 Saturn and, play my disc games off the disc and then use that for other stuff. Cause I mean, I don't like if I have a bunch of games on the SD card, but I don't like consider like they're there for me to capture footage from. Not like I'm going to sit down and play this game. I usually don't sit down and just like play through a game that like I don't own. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody has their own weirdness with that. If I play a ROM of a game and I really love it, even if I'm halfway through it, I'll go buy the original just to have because it's just something that I would like.
Right.
But it has no purpose other than it's something I would like. I'll still going to complete the game using the ROM. So,
right.
It's everybody has their own weirdness. There's no right or wrong way. There's one wrong way. Don't take a bunch of ROMs and try to sell them. Other than that, there's no wrong way. So, well, I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open for a Model 1 Saturn with a dead CD-ROM drive because hopefully I'll be able to pick one of those up really cheap and I'll just save that for when the Satiator comes out.
Yeah, I have a Dreamcast with a dead GD-ROM drive in it, and it's just waiting for me to get a GDMU.
Awesome. Well, I'll post links down below for everybody interested, but definitely check out the video. I'm not just saying this because he's on. I always try to blow up these guys' spot because I love the videos. So definitely check it out.
Thanks.
So Nintendo just posted their sales for the year, and it looks like come April, this Switch will have surpassed the Wii U's total sales altogether.
Oh,
So
isn't that so crazy? That is
yeah,
so crazy that it happened so quick.
but didn't Nintendo the past couple of consoles flip flop like that? Like, didn't the GameCube not do as well as they'd hoped, and then the Wii was a huge smash, and then the Wii U was kind of a flop, and now the Switch is a huge smash. So
Yeah, I mean, like the Wii U, I think it just struggled to find an audience because the concept of the Wii U was like fully realized in the Switch.
yeah,
A portable system that you can play on your TV. You can switch back and forth.
Yeah, and when the Switch came out, Scott was over and we did a whole discussion and we went deep into what would we gain if it was more powerful, and the end conclusion that we and pretty much everybody on the planet came to is it doesn't really matter how powerful the Switch is, it's just how
Right.
well it works. Whereas the Wii U, I still very strongly feel like if they were less concerned with making it this big and more concerned with all of the other aspects of it, it could have really benefited from being way more powerful. Like if you had more interaction with games and a higher resolution screen on the handheld, tablet unit, like if they had just really made it like a 1080p Wii, I think it would have been so much more potential if they had just gone from that perspective. And I would hope that the next version of the Switch is like a 4K version of the Switch or something. So the same
Right.
exact thing, just, now it renders games in 4K or something. And that people tend to, or companies, I guess, tend to do a little bit better when they come at it from that perspective. But I guess 10 years from now we'll look forward to some clickbait hidden gem Wii U videos. So,
Yeah.
was there anything on there that really stood out to you that you loved? Was there anything with like
On the Wii U?
the handheld screen that really made the experience better for you?
The handheld screen didn't make any difference at all. I mean, I would not use it if you weren't forced to.
Same here, except for the DS games. But the DS games had so much lag that I couldn't even play them on my flat screen. I'd have to roll over my BVM and play in 480p.
Oh, really? I had no idea. I mean, they look really good. The Game Boy, or I don't know. I know the Game Boy Advance games were done by M2, a Japanese
and
developer.
Those came out great too.
Yeah.
But the DS ones, I don't know. I'm assuming it probably wasn't powerful enough to run the emulator on both the big screen and the little at the same time. But yeah, well, hey, let's pour one out for the Wii U. Next up, Citrus 3000 PSI has posted another update to his GCVideo Dual output project, so you could do RGB and HDMI out at the same time. It's the internal mod. And hopefully I'll be getting my hands on one of these pretty soon. I tried the GC plug, the external version, and it's freaking awesome. I'll have a video coming up with that relatively soon. I'm kind of a little crazy these past few weeks, but without a doubt by the end of the year, but I'm aiming for before Thanksgiving-ish. But yeah, I mean, another small update, but I just want to keep everybody in the loop because, he's doing the smart thing of doing small board revisions, testing them, and then moving along. And it looks like this might be the final version, and it looks like they're tested and working well. So I'll let everybody know when I get that in. Are you going to be getting one of these, or do you already have an internal solution?
I have two different units. I have, I like my main one that I use just like the component cables with, and I have another unit that has an internal HDMI. But I think this is kind of like the best of both worlds, obviously.
Yeah, so this, I got into a big discussion with Michael from Badass Consoles about this because it's my personal opinion, and maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but your average GameCube user would definitely, without a doubt, be better off just getting the external plug, the well-designed ones, the ones
right
from Greg and Dan, or if the Badass Consoles one ever sees the light of day. We saw those pictures; they look great. Because the GameCube is the only console that has the digital pins on the outside. So it's the only time you're ever going to be able to just plug something in, and it's as perfect as an internal mod.
Right.
But I strongly feel like a dual internal solution is a necessity, and I think 99% of the people that buy those are going to be Twitch streamers or people that do any of the competitions, because Twitch streamers now get a zero lag analog output that they could play on their monitor while having a really high quality HDMI output go to their capture card. And same with big events. Now you could have the finalists in the tournament playing on a really awesome tube TV of sorts, hopefully a PVM or something, and then the output goes to a big screen for everybody to watch, as well
like a projector
as the stream and the project. Yeah, so it's exciting. I'm really glad that there's progress made. And I'll be doing a written interview with Unseen at one point. He likes to literally be unseen, so total respect to that. I understand 100%. So actually, I don't even know if it's a he. I just think, no, it's a person from Germany. So maybe I'll have one of my German friends come on and read his responses or something. If there was a way I could pull that off respectfully, I'm totally going to do it, because I'm a huge fan of his work. I certainly wouldn't do it to mock him. But, yep, I'll keep everybody posted if they go up for sale.
All right.
I just wanted to very quickly mention this last thing. I got to meet a developer of somebody who's doing a Deadpool NES game, and it's based off of Ninja Gaiden, but it's really awesome. I mean, there's cutscenes, it's funny, the gameplay's good, it's not obscenely hard, it's something that I could even play, which is, I'm not great at old NES games. But I don't know. I forgot to get the guy's contact. I tried to look him up. I don't know if I'm allowed to put a link. I don't know if there's a demo available. I think he talked about probably making, or I was trying to get him to release just one level for free as a demo and then figure it out from there. Maybe it'll be available on a real cart, maybe not. But I did give him all the names of the people to go to for small production, big production, everything else. But I really enjoyed it, so I just wanted to show the clip. And if there's any Ninja Gaiden fans that want a Deadpool version of that game, hopefully it'll be released relatively soon.
Sounds like a good combination to me.
Yep. All right, now on to the Q&As. First up from Onswoggle? Onswoggle? What do you think?
Yeah, probably Onswoggle. Pwnswoggle.
Yeah, all right. He got the PAL version of the Super Nintendo 3DS XL, and he said it didn't come with an IPS screen, so there's just a quick heads up that, there's a good chance that the US ones might not have that either. Thanks for reporting. It's too bad it's hard to track those down. I wish there was a serial number you could look for or something.
Yeah, I just got a new 3DS myself, the smaller kind. Yeah. And I don't believe it has the IPS screens either.
Yeah, it was actually you that when we were at the Nintendo store, when I said I was looking to get a bigger one, and you said, no, you like the smaller one because the screens look better because the pixels were close together.
Right.
That's what drove me to put two of them side by side, and I agree 100%. I like the smaller one better. So.
Yep. I switched from just a regular XL to a new, smaller one, just because, I just think it feels more portable that way, too.
Well, I love mine, so hopefully people could have, maybe one day we could find a way to figure out which ones are IPS screens or not. Next up, Clint Collage had a question about testing lag, and I'm going to try to keep this short because I really plan on doing a whole other video about this, because I see people getting lag testing wrong all the time. Hacks like My Life in Gaming, and... No, you guys are the few that get it right. There was a couple of people, somebody emailed me a link to a video they did, and they're a new YouTube channel starting out. They're one of those people that has all the right equipment to make it look like a super great production, but they're still kind of green. And they talked about a zero lag solution that did not have zero lag, and I tried to walk them through how to test it. But the best way to do it is to split a signal between a CRT and a flat screen. Now, in my personal opinion, the way I like to test it is I have my G-SCART switch, and I'll use any of the consoles that run the 240p test suite. I'll have the stopwatch thing going, and one output of the G-SCART switch goes directly into an RGB monitor, even one of those little small 8-inch ones that are cheap and easy to find.
Right.
And then the other output goes to the OSSC, which we've tested, and it's definitely, if it has lag, it's in the 1 millisecond range, so it doesn't matter, and you're not going to pick it up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always put the CRT to the right of the flat screen, and then I do a couple of tests. Now I have flat screens. That's how I would test the lag of a flat screen. And then if you want to test different solutions too, you could use the median lag on the flat screen. So if I was testing the lag of something else and I knew that my consistently has about 2 frames of lag, then I would factor that in. You could even get lag-free flat screens, but that is definitely the way that I would suggest doing it. The other thing too, you could just use composite video. So you could just take a NES with composite out, use a Y adapter, which you shouldn't do that for long-term play, but for this testing, no problem. Mm-hmm. And, one going into a CRT of any kind and the other one going into your flat screen. But the only issue I have with that is, there is the whole flat screen resolution debate where, most people have come to the conclusion that if you don't run at the original resolution, the native resolution of your panel, you get lag, but there's no difference between 480p, 720, 1080p to 4K, let's say. But I have, without a doubt, seen differences in analog to digital in. So something that comes in through like the composite video port takes more processing to get it over to the 4K digital signal. So you might see a difference in lag just that you're using composite versus anything else. Mm-hmm. Anything else to add to that? Any other tricks that you guys have been using?
Something we've been kind of experimenting with lately is to use a arcade stick that has a light on the button when you there's a like the NES Advantage. It lights up if you press the button, and I think I have one down here. There's a Genesis arcade stick that has like the buttons will light up when you hit the button as well, or like the little red lights will come on when you press the button.
Very cool. Yeah. So now with the taking pictures of the flat screen next to the tube, I originally just exclusively used a high-speed DSLR, mm-hmm. and as well as my iPhone in the 240 frames slow motion.
Right.
Every single time, every test was spot on to both. So mm-hmm. I never once got different results from the DSLR. So now I just hold up my iPhone camera. I'll take like 20 seconds of footage, and then I'll go back and scroll through, and you watch the two dials spinning around and see what the difference is.
Yeah.
Now, how is your median test using the light on the controller?
I mean, it's been pretty decent. I mean, we haven't like really used it in an episode. We haven't had to put it in an episode yet. I mean, maybe we will with this PS2 episode. I don't think so though.
I guess the test would be like a slow motion camera, and you do the button test on a tube,
you
do it on a flat screen, and that's how you could determine the difference in lag between the tube and the flat screen.
Right. We usually shoot it at 60 frames per second, and then it should be instant on the CRT, and then you can count the frames that way for the
count the frame differences. And I guess you could use that same light trick for everything from controller adapters to software emulation versus original versus... Yeah, I want to get more into that. Do you think 60 frames a second is fast enough to be able to capture everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I did the test with the Super Nintendo Classic versus something going through a Framemeister, and I thought
mm-hmm.
it worked pretty well. Especially when I did the second test on SNES through the OSSC versus SNES through that crappy 6 frames a second or lag scaler. You could literally just see the difference in Mario jumping. So that was a great visualization. But so to directly answer the question after all of that word vomit that I just spit out. To do tests without an RGB monitor, you could definitely just do it with composite, or you could try to do the light test that Corey just said, and just keep in mind you might get a slightly different response from composite than you would have, like the OSSC going through it at some kind of higher digital resolution.
Right.
Here's a quick one. Yawnny asked, does the Indiegogo campaign being put on hold mean the forum is also put on hold? Yeah, absolutely. So, forums, the administration of a forum requires infinitely more work than setting it up and getting everything going. And the biggest two issues I've had about forums. Number one, 99% is making sure that that information, all those awesome things that we find, gets archived. So in order for that to happen, there has to be a bunch of good moderators, and for my site, it would, I would have to be the main one for at least the first couple of months, who could sit there and go, hey, we've reached a point. Like after I verify Voultar's findings and a few other people do, that would go right onto the corresponding page, or even maybe a new page would be created because of that. So that's, getting that information there is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of a forum. And the other part is just the moderation of the people in the forum, being able to go in without emotion and be able to say which is a good argument that's healthy and what people are just being douchebags, or what people can't help themselves and they should just be banned even though it's not their fault. So that is a lot of that's hard, and that takes hours a day to make sure that happens, and I don't have that until everything gets fixed and settled. So I wish I could just flip a switch and turn everything on, but I'm working on it, so we'll see. And lastly, Windy City Gaming is posted again. He emailed me and told me to contact him. He posted on a couple of videos. I don't have time for any of that. I thought I was pretty clear in my videos, my opinions on it. I don't think I said anything bad. My only complaint was the requirement of a sticker. But do you have one of his?
No, I have tested one of his. As before. I think it was like the ATX 300 or something like that is the name of his Supergun. We were working on an episode that just hasn't come out, on Superguns. And I thought it worked very well, but obviously we were not running anything through a G-SCART. Mm-hmm. So we didn't run into any issues. We were just running it directly into a Framemesiter.
Oh geez, that's all. That's just as bad.
Well,
Well,
I only worked with it for 2 days.
Position, it wouldn't be. Never. Let me retract my statement. If you have the switch in the correct position, it's fine. So, I guess that's the only issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought it was fine, but all this stuff makes me really nervous about this everything that has to do with Superguns, I guess.
Well, I got to ask you a question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but when he sent you the Supergun, did he tell you which way to toggle the switch if you're using it into a Framemeister? Was that even mentioned or in any of the documentation?
No. The one that we used, it was before it even was available for sale.
Fair enough. Okay. Totally fair enough. Because that was my only complaint in all of this was just communication of that switch is even there, where it's supposed to be toggled to. That's the only real negativity I put towards this. So it's it's just a shame because apparently it's a really well made product that just with that one little bump in the road. But I guess he's contacted people with a solution. He's sending out stickers or stuff, or and doing a bit more for people. So I certainly, like I've said every other time, I'm not knocking the guy's business or his Superguns. My only complaint was just that communicating where the switch is supposed to be and what it's there for. So. Mm-hmm. And for the record, if you had taken that and gone directly into a PVM and directly the audio into a stereo or something, I can't speak for something I haven't tested, but I would be willing to bet that you would never have an issue ever, no matter what the switch was toggled into. It's just for things that are designed to one spec you plug something in that's out of that spec. So.
Right. Well, hopefully this will mean, better communication, on Superguns, because obviously, the interest in them is expanding. Yeah, constantly. So I think that having better communication is a win for everybody.
It is, and I heard I don't want to say the name because I don't want it to turn this into a passive aggressive smear fest, but I did hear that another Supergun maker jumped on the other side of this, and as soon as the controversy happened, sent out an email to all of his buyers and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, mine does fall within the spectrum, so you don't have to worry about anything. Let me know if you have any questions." So hopefully people are just using this as a learning experience. And it sucks that Wendy had to deal with a bunch of emails and stuff for a week or so, but everybody might benefit at the end of the day as a result. So.
Right.
All right, one last one. I have a question for everybody. Does anybody in the U.S. work at a metal shop that does powder coating? Because I have that case for the G-SCART Switch that was all metal, that was one of the prototypes, and I really would love to get that powder-coated black, and it needs a little bit of work, so some of the holes need to just be widened a little bit. And to be honest, this stuff is an art form. Like, if you gave me a file and said, make everything fit, it would look like a kindergartner with a blowtorch hit it. It'd be terrible. Some people just have the ability to do these things, and so if you work at a powder coating shop and you'd be willing to just align a couple of the holes differently, you could probably do it with a file or a machine, and then powder coat it all black and get me some nice looking black screws. I would love to have somebody pay. I'd love to pay to have somebody take care of that for me, and hopefully get a good quote. Stuff like this, I'm always waiting. Like, if you go to a car shop, yeah, no problem, it'll be $600. Come on, I'm not talking, this isn't going into a $100,000 classic car. This is going into my my office. So if anybody works at a metal shop, let me know. I'll mail that thing over. Well, that was freaking awesome. Thanks for coming on, Corey. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, you're always welcome. I love doing these things with somebody, and I'm a big fan of My Life in Gaming. But
this is the first thing we've gotten to do since we did the when we were hanging out at Barcade Brooklyn.
Yeah,
a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, this is the first thing we got to work on together. So we got to make more time to do that in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
But before I just talked over you, sorry, Skype delay. What do you guys have coming out soon? What could I help promote for you guys?
Well, I mean, we have the PS2 RGB episode coming out. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks. It's going to be huge. It's an hour long. And this coming Saturday, November 4th, we are going to be participating in the Extra Life Marathon.
Oh, yeah?
Where we're going to be doing streaming from 10 a.m. on Saturday morning until 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, and try to raise some money for Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Wow. That's quite the marathon.
Yeah, I've never done anything like this before. For me, Try's done a whole bunch. She's done a whole bunch of marathons like this from... his site that he is the co-founder of Backloggery does marathons pretty often, but this is the first time. We're not going to be together for it, but we're going to be doing a dual stream where we're going to both have our own game screens up at the same time. Have some guests. Are
you going to trade off where like a tag team thing, or are you guys all both going to try to do it 24 hours straight?
No, we're both going to be doing it. And you're going to be able to see, both of our gameplay windows, and we're going to try to finish as many games as we can that we haven't finished before.
That is freaking crazy. Wow. So I'll jump on whenever you guys get a chance. One of my favorite bands is playing in Jersey Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So maybe depending on how it falls into play, maybe I'll jump on during the day, and then maybe I'll jump on right afterwards, so you guys could make fun of me all drunk for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a bunch of people, a bunch of friends, on and off Skype throughout the marathon. It should be pretty cool. Like you, Nick from HD Retrovision is going to do it. Voultar, John Linneman from Digital Foundry is going to show up at some point. It's gonna be fun. A lot of tech talk, a lot of messing around, and hopefully we'll be able to finish a lot of games.
Awesome. Well, I mean, thanks again for coming on. I don't really have much else to promote other than the usual stuff. Check out all the links in the descriptions. Unless something happens and I get caught up, I will be at, I think it's called 10th Street Live in New Jersey to see my friend's band play. I hope they're going on first. In my old age, I don't want to be out all night and then find my way home and then have to get up and do stuff.
It's all about that commute home. That's like the worst part.
Yeah, well, I'll be doing mass transportation because these are friends, but they're one of my favorite bands burst.
Mhm.
So for me, this is a huge party. I'm just going to go get drunk and act like a silly person and enjoy my one of my favorite bands. So
Yeah.
anybody's around, tweet at me. Hopefully I won't get caught up in the office, or hopefully I'll be able to walk. The last time I went to see them, I was so freaking, my back was hurting so bad. I just went home and laid on the floor like an idiot. So tweet me if you guys are in the Jersey area and want to listen to some good old Jersey metal. And yeah, I don't know. Thanks for watching. As always, all comments and criticism are welcome, so fire away down below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Take care.